Brahman Panam Brahman Havi Brahman Yahu. Oh, no, it's not this. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Om Om Shwara Om Namaste. We we just reviewed the verse 28, page 1732. In this manner, you will be freed from all the bounds of actions which cause punya papan, period. But for that, you need a mind devote to renunciation, sannyasa, and yoga. Well, so you will be liberated while living if you get a mind devoted to renunciation. Renunciation here is mostly renouncing our attachments to our likes and dislikes. Ahankara mamakara, I and mine, and so on, my way and so on. So devote to sannyasa means renunciation, and yoga, it means sadhana, nididhyasana in this case here, in order to be liberated while living. And then you attain that which was always attained, because you cannot attain that which is your intrinsic true nature, real nature. So you attain that which cannot be attained but can be understood to be always ever attained. And you attain while living, and after that, meaning you should say that later on you are not going to be born again as a separate entity believing to be a wave upon the ocean. So, and for that we need bhakti, we need devotion, niskama, and sakama, beginning with sakama, niskama. Niskama is equivalent to kama yoga. Kama yoga is a highly elevated yoga sadhana, is a sadhana of understanding and a sadhana of remembering the teachings on Ishvara Jiva Jagata and living from that perspective of knowledge, of vision. So we have seen here that some punya, it may be materialistic by nature, but we are interested in the spiritual punya. So if you get a lot of punya, this is a nice twist here. If you have a lot of punya, you're born in a family which is spiritually oriented. And this is the greatest possible punya, to be born as a human being in a family which is spiritually inclined, this family holding those values. And if you live in that environment right from the childhood, so you are going to be in a much better situation than other children who are going to be swimming against the current. So swimming against the current is something that I often present to my Brazilian group, because samsara is a huge current, it's very wide, it's very strong. And to swim against the current of samsara requires a lot of courage and a lot of free will, or how you say, willpower, determination, dedication. So not everybody comes and are born already with a lot of favorable conditions. Some people are born like myself in a difficult environment, and and we have to swim against this huge current of avidya, of ignorance. So only then we get the opportunity to study the scriptures on self-knowledge and moksha. we need a lot of spiritual punya, and it's real spiritual punya. I mean, spirituality is only spirituality when we come to Vedanta slash Upanishads. Before that is just searching for subtle levels of duality in which people are bound. In any case, so to find out the spirit one without the second is the real spirituality, which is very rare to find someone really interested. The desire for moksha is the biggest one. So you can do a lot of pujas to get some of this desire for moksha and desire for a spiritual guru, a spiritual environment. So guru and the spiritual scriptures. Okay, we have seen that. Then Swami reminds us that we need a lot of punya, a spiritual punya, religious spiritual punya. But later on, we have to leave it behind because the goal is to transcend the need for punya. Okay, so punya is going to provide us with circumstances which are more favorable to self-inquiry and self-knowledge. Papaji used to play with us big time. I was on my mid-30s when I was there, and he used to say, "Listen, you need good circumstance. So now you are here in India, the spiritual capital of the world, and you have a guru, you have satsang, and you have a young body, a young mind." He says, "You need to do it now." He used to really press our buttons, creating a psychological pressure. So you have to do it now because with old age, it comes a lot of other difficulties. Now you have good punya and you have a healthier body. Do it now, do it now. He went to the extreme to say, if you are over the 40s, forget it. And I was crushed by that concept, because I was approaching my 40, you know. But it's none of that. My impression, he was trying to create a sense of urgency because he was very unsophisticated as a teacher. Because you cannot create really a sense of urgency because maturity cannot be accelerated for any means, not even a sense of urgency or time. So that ultimately we need to transcend punya as well, leave it behind, but we need the punya to create favorable circumstances to do our vichara and get self-knowledge. You don't want to be bound, not even to sattva guna. The idea is to transcend the need, transcend punya papa, transcend the need for punya. Papa, papa and everybody wants to transcend. And it's easy to say, it's more easily understood that you need to let it behind, transcend the need for the need to avoid papa, But once you have punya, to leave it behind as well is something that requires tremendous maturity. So Krishna also gives a title for the Niskama Bhakta, which is synonymous of Karma Yogi. And he calls it Padi Mabusam. What is the title? No, that is the season of title. The Krishna gives the title for the Niskama or Kami Yogi, Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma. Okay, now I remember. It's this concept of Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma. Yeah. He's both. He's a sannyasi and a yogi who Niskama Bhakta or Kami Yoga is identical to that. And then we have to understand what kind of of uh, sannyasa it one becomes. Né? It's the one who has renunciated. And I think I spoke about that. He's the Niskama Kami Yoga. He's no longer interested in materialistic gains such as desires for physical material gains, subtle material gains such as celestial lokas or mental experience or epiphanies or any one of those misleading concepts. He has renounced the desire for subtle or gross materialistic desires, spiritually materialistic spirituality all over the place. He wants what? He wants the inner growth so that he can understand the Upanishads. So he's a sannyas without having to leave one's roles and participation in society. If we drop the anxiety regarding materialist things, and this materialist matter is matter and energy. So if we drop the desire which produces anxiety regarding our subtle and gross materialistic gains, this is the greatest possible renunciation, you know. And then, of course, after all, we have to renounce the one who believes that he or her has renounced, you know. That is renouncing the sense of doership and enjoyership, which characterize the ego, identification with the ego. I have done this and this and that. I have vairagya. I have dropped it. I have transcended. I have this. That. If someone talks to you in those terms, it's an indication that the true renunciation did not come through yet because it brings an extreme sense of humbleness, modesty. If you drop the expectation and anxiety, what happened to my security? So he's just asking, presenting the question for the group. No? One may feel afraid, no? Because I have a sense I get a certain degree of security from the materialistic and subtle gains. So one of these subtle subtle materialist gains is what is a certain meditative state such as samadhi or a certain spiritual experience that we want them to visit us again. So none of that is going to really provide security because it is within the field in which everything has a beginning, a middle, and end. Everything is changing. Nothing is stable. No? So you may have some sense of security when you are in a certain state due to these superficial sadhanas. And then you will see that the state changes, and then you're gonna feel insecure again. Okay? You don't feel as insulated anymore because your sense of strength and insulation was depending on a state of mind which was not produced by Atmayana, but it was produced by effort, by willpower to hold the mind in a certain way so that a sense of ananda develops, but it's there to grow, diminish, and go. So Krishna has answered before this question. Huh? the person is able to drop the obsession with assets, properties, money as means to provide the security, which in truth is intrinsic to our own nature as limitless, infinite consciousness. More money I have, more insecure, some say, because I get more attached to my possessions and the fear. I have more to lose if a crash comes, if a collapse comes, or if a regime changes, you know. So it's difficult to understand for some, but for some other, it's easy because I have been there. I have lived so many years. When I walked away from my profession, I used to have nothing, no money, nothing. I used to just be in India with a small child, surviving somehow with no sense of security. But I was gaining a sense of security by being in an environment in the ashram in which there was a sattva guna production and a sense of collective security because we are all at the feet of the Lord, of our Guru, you know. So that would bring about I feel a sense of security. I remember every time I used to come back to Brazil for some reason, it was not very often, I knew I should not be long here in Brazil. And one time I ended up staying a little longer. And then people in my environment start just, bringing up those concepts that you cannot live your life like that. You have no security, you have no money, you have no profession, you have nothing, you cannot live like that. And that thing start getting into my mind and I start seeing exactly the way they see it. And I start feeling the same concern that they are feeling towards me. When I saw that, I begin shaking like that, believing that I need that level of security. I booked my ticket and then went back to India. When I got to India, it was something very interesting. Immediately, I felt totally secure. Not that my money situation had changed, but I felt secure because my mind was much better resolved in that atmosphere and that environment, which is conducive to the experience of peace. So peace is directly related to a sense of security. And then we have to understand that the source of peace should not be as a result of doing a sadhana, okay, which involves willpower. But the peace, when it is a byproduct of a deep understanding of one's true, eternal, free, and independent nature, and then that peace is a peace that does not come and go. Understand? It stays because it's bound, it's based on jnana. Like Ramji used to say, it's a saying in our tradition. Knowledge is that which is always good. Experience, it's you cannot rely because it comes and it goes. You cannot trust. But knowledge, once you know what you are. So the highly Niskama Bhakta or Karma Yogi, he knows and he has transferred the sense of security from owning things, materialistic or subtle materialistic things. They transfer it to the Lord, meaning to say, I want to live in harmony with the Lord, and I want to understand the true nature of the Lord, which is Nirguna Atma, which is my very intrinsic nature. So the highly mature Niskama Bhakta does not bother anymore with those things. Therefore, it's said that he's like a sannyasa, because he has renounced. Sannyasa, the sannyasa that we see in India, they renounce or they reject the lifestyle in society. They have no interest They have rejected the idea of having to participate in society, to work for those goals, putting up a family, children, wife, and being a good provider. Some people they don't have interest in that. They are mature enough that they say, no, that's not for me. Most of us we get into that for later on. We understand that no, it's okay. I was meant to go through that, but I need to become a sannyas, although now I have roots into the world and I'm participating in society, but now I have to become a sannyas in spite of having to deal with my roles in society. But that's why he's called a yogi, because he has converted his participation in the world, his interaction in the world, into sadhana. He's called a yogi because his life is a sadhana. Nobody sees it as a sadhana except the very Kama yogi, which now has renounced the desire for things of this world, although is still navigating this world because he finds himself or herself in a karmic condition in which he has associations with people and parents and sons and daughters and husbands and wives. Yoga here refers to action. He's associated with action. Okay, he's called a yogi. Yogi here refers to action. It means he is a karma yogi. Karma yoga is action. Karma goes to action. Yoga means the conversion of actions into spiritual sadhana. If I keep that perspective of understanding, and if that perspective of understanding surely, gradually develops an attitude and spirit of appreciation, gratefulness, and dedication, and so on. So action goes to yoga. Actions, karma goes to actions, and yoga goes to this karma yogi attitude. He lives in the world. He's still navigating, interacting, but he's not interested in things of this world. It's unbelievable, but it's so simple. It's so simple. People have difficult to understand. How can you live in the world and still being not attached to any of these things? This Karma Yoga is interested in inner growth, spiritual development, and so on. And once he becomes a yoni, and then life is just a play, and it does not need to play itself much long at all. So what happens to this? Vimuktaha. He is liberated soon once he has got to the high levels of Niskama Bhakta equal to Kama Yogi, which is fully qualified for self-knowledge and liberation. He soon become liberated. This is the heights of a Niskama Bhakta. It is a Kama Yogi, which absolutely is the way to liberation. How? We should be very careful. He has to go through Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. Okay? It's just that without these high levels of niskama devotion of the Kama Yogi, if one does not develop the qualifications for Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. No? So you're going to need to go through the Yan Yoga Vedanta. Most people do not have interest in Yin Yoga, and they may feel inclined to remain as a Niskama Bhakta forever. So we should avoid that misunderstanding. Okay, Yin Yoga is not deprived of devotion at all. In fact, it's said to be the highest Bhakta to be the Yin Yogi. So a lot of people do not understand that, and then they try to avoid the Jnana Yoga. Therefore, all the commentators make a point here. Karma Yoga does not direct at liberation, the Karma Yoga, but it takes ones to the Upanishads and takes it through this fully developed yoga vimuktaha bhavati, meaning to say renunciation, total renunciation of materialistic gains, because my only interest and desire is spiritual preparedness. And then one is already stepping into the Jnana Yoga of the Upanishads. She will get purity of mind, refinement of mind, and the desires once had for dualistic, materialistic experiences or dualistic, subtle experience is going to be converted into a desire for Vedanta Vichara, investigation into the nature of the self in the light of these teachings of the Upanishads. And then once one is really ready, one will bump into a guru, and then one will get sooner or later yana, atmayana. This is the route to become liberated while still in the body. And then what will happen? Having liberated, he merged into me. So I already uh, comment a little bit. Yeah. So it becomes one with me. Be very careful. It's not that you are apart from Brahman right now. You are not going to merge. Do not imagine that this Kama Bhakta slowly is going to merge me into God, no? As if I'm away or apart from God. I'm apart from Brahman. I'm apart from Ishvara. It's not that Ishvara is going to be waiting or Brahman is going to wait to give you a big hug. No, there is nothing such as this one. So how are you going to merge? By understand, I have never been apart from Brahman. Is merging very beautifully put. Merging is dropping the misconception that Brahman is something other than myself, therefore it's away from me. Therefore, I have to do yoga. Yoga means connecting, merging, contacting. So someone in our Sampradaya said once that Vedanta is a yoga of no connection, the yoga of no contact, is the yoga of understanding. Huh? It's just by dropping or renouncing this misconception, wrong notions. How do you drop this notion? Oh, like how you drop any notion, you have to just check, investigate, examine those notions. And once your intellect is satisfied that that is a wrong notion, and then you have no problem to drop that notion. But if you invest it without investigating, if you invest in a home body mind as me, and you are suffering, and you don't really follow the logic to re-examine that mistaken notion, wrong notion, wrong misconception, and then you are never going to let go of the Aham Brahmasmi, Aham body mind as me, to embrace Aham Brahmasmi. People sometimes they find that Vedanta doesn't work, because my take is that they did not really examine honestly, truly enough to understand that one is living from this state, aham, body, mind as me, and the suffering is coming from that. And one has to understand that mistaken conviction will go only if you debunk it, if you deconstruct it, and you need knowledge. You need to understand those those profound declarations of the Upanishads that says, Aham Brahmasmi, you are none of these limit finite things of this apparent order. You are conscious existence. And then the intellect has to understand that profoundly, clearly, without any doubts, abstractions, vagueness. And then once you have that clear understanding, and that clear understanding will for sure erode these mistaken notions, aham, body, mind, as me. It begins eroding, 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 eroding when you see you have a doubtless self-knowledge. So the moment I get knowledge, Atmayana, the wrong thought that God is away from me goes away. I come to know God as my intrinsic nature, the most, and nature is something that is the most intimate thing to any phenomenal thing, you know? So, but it's not that God is very close, no. Not that it's even closer, no. Not that God is the closest, no. God is my true nature. God is my intrinsic nature. Well, so we saw it. This distance is a notional distance, very nicely put. Notional distance. This notional distance will go, and then he makes it be very careful. It's not a national distance, it's a notion. It's gonna go away. And that takes us to the verse 29. I am the same towards all beings. There is no one hateful to me, nor dear to me. However, those who worship me with this understanding, with devotion, are in me, and I am also in them. Those who worship me with non-dual the devotion, meaning to say, I'm devoted to this only principle, this only reality, which is conscious existence, operating this body, mind, sense complex. I'm devoted to the intrinsic nature of everything. Even the creator itself is what it is due to this intrinsic nature, conscious existence. I'm devoted to conscious existence, that which, quote unquote, behind this phenomenal world. So if one who worships me with this devotion, they are so dear to me that many people say, some say in the Gita, that one Ishvara or Brahmana has a special sympathy to those yanis, you know. But here's say, I have no feeling of anybody being more dear to me or hateful to me. I'm equal, I'm equanimous. I'm the same towards all beings. We have to remember Saguna Ishvara is a system, okay? And these notions that appear in the Gita that Krishna says, I have a special sympathy to people like you, Arjuna, because, you know, it's something that we have to understand. It's Krishna is speaking as Ishvara, okay? Not as Brahman, as Ishvara, as the Lord of this universe, representing, say, from the stand of my human nature, I have a special sympathy to these highly developed bhaktas, you understand? Because they have understood their nature to be identical to my very nature. And they are so intimate. Their intimity is what the expression I like the most. You know, instead of saying that those are the dearest to me, is the most intimate to me. In the previous verse, Krishna said, Niskama Bhakta will merge into me, by which Krishna implies that the Sakama Bhakta will not bash in me. So the Niskama Bhakta will not merge, the Sakama Bhakta will not merge. So, but Niskama Bhakta will become a yoni, and then he will drop those conceptions of merging or remaining apart because he understands that all pair of opposites, they are illusories. It's understood when there are two people, when you say to this person is intelligent, what it means the other person is not so intelligent. So implied meaning is that, you know? Somebody say, oh, you're looking good today. So it means to say, maybe I was not looking good yesterday. Ramji used to like to present this analogy. So when there are two people, when you say this person is intelligent, you may say what? The other is not that much. When two children, their mother and father say, this boy is very intelligent, never do that, the other boy gets terribly feeling of rejection. I suffered that on my skin because I was the bad sheep. I say the black sheep, né? The black sheep, and my brother was praised and I was. It's not that I was not praised. I was really said clearly that there was something wrong with me. I was not intelligent enough. I was not this enough, not enough. He says, be careful, parents. Never do that. Similarly, Krishna says here, Niskama Bhakta merges into me. Don't believe that Sankama is being rejected. Bhagwan is not a partial entity because Bhagwan is not really a personal entity. It's a system. So, but Krishna sometimes speaks as a personal entity, a deity. Some bhaktas he takes upon himself, where other bhaktas he say, no, the Lord is not partial but impartial.
Orlando, I was wondering if you could think of it in the way that if one is always devotional to the non-dual, then it sets up a certain vritti in a mental modification that is resonant with the self. And in that sense, the self and they're in me and I am in them. Could you think of it that way?
Well, it's those are all beautiful concepts. Papaji used to go to the extreme to say that you have to become so pure, so beautiful, that Bhagwan or the Lord comes and picks you up, saves you from samsara, you know? So that is an extreme of those. We know analogies are always limited in the fact that, but what you were saying is much more profound because if you start understanding that the true nature of the Lord is your inner intrinsic nature, no? So there is a certain vibrations of frequency, of energy. So you begin synchronizing with the true nature of the Atma. Everything is the Atma, but the waves, they somehow they have this dissonance, and but if you correct that, and then you're gonna feel in harmony with your true nature. But then your true nature is not an experienced entity. So, Krishna is there and he's talking as sometimes as Brahman, sometimes as Ishvara. Hmm. We have to see all this, what you said from the standpoint of the 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 jiva, the experience knowing entity, understand your true nature is going to change your mind, your emotional body, and everything because you have become more and more conformed or aligned or harmonized with nature. I mean, the more harmonious we are with our nature, the more comfortable we feel within this body, yet associate with this body, we're gonna feel more and more comfortable because although I have this physical instrument of knowledge experience, I'm I'm identified with the spirit behind it, so to speak, and then I'm okay in spite of being associated with the body and all the problems that come with it. So it's more or less on those lines. From the standpoint of the jiva, this is very profound insight on the nature of self-knowledge and sense of peace and freedom that it provides. So he says, there is there is a bhakta. He used to go to the temple and say, "Oh Lord, take me unto you." I remember myself long, long, long. It's very interesting when I have some flashes that when I began my association with my first guru, I had this this notion that I need to become one with God, and there was always this concept of God in my mind, which was not a Christian thing. And I remember now myself when I used to go in meditation, sometimes I would look to nature and to the mountain and so on. And I used to mentally say something like that. I want to merge with you. I want to become one with you. Take me into you and so on. These notions of oneness. So the guy here is making his prayers or his pujas. I want to merge. Take me unto you. And the person remains there saying that again and again and again and again. And I remember shortly before self-recognition took place, I used to repeat in my mind, say, I want to meet one by one with you. I want to meet you face to face. Still this sense of God is something away from me. So he was repeating these things. And then the pujari, as the guy in the temple who takes care of all the pujas, I believe, he got irritated. He wants to close the temple, and the guy is repeating there. So take me to you. I want to marry you. The guy was not going. So at last, what he did, one day he stood behind the idol, and the bhakta said, "Oh Lord, please take me into you." And then the pujari guy lah, who takes care, he stand behind and said something. Oh dear Bhakta, I'm satisfied with your devotion. I'm going to fulfill your wish, but tomorrow be prepared. I will take you into me. And then the guy got so scared that he never went back, and the pujari guy there got rid of the guy. Therefore, Krishna says, I'm not the one who decide whether you should get moksha or not. The problem is not with my readiness. I'm impartial. I'm ready to give moksha to anyone from the standpoint of karma, the system, Ishvara. Yeah? So your moksha is going to come up of the production line once everything is in place. Once you're ready for it, once your parabada has fructified for that, so the system is going to produce your moksha. So what are you going to do about that? So get ready. How am I going to get ready? So you have to grow in qualification, maturity, and so on. So Krishna cannot do anything. And the person cannot even fake one's readiness and maturity either. So, but here, from seen from this standpoint, which is a kind of Puranic vision that there is a Lord giving moksha somewhere, you know. So moksha, Ishvara or Brahman is there with one pocket, it has moksha, the other, it has some other things. And then he says, what you want? So the problem is not coming from Bhagwan. The problem is that people do not want moksha, and that is a fact. It's so rare to find a mature sadhaka really interested in self-knowledge. Most people want better kind of duality. So I'm saying that in one of our camps, sadhana camps or Vedantic camps, I send one person to every room. It was a context that came like that. Everybody should go to their own room and say, go to your room. Swamiji is willing to give moksha to all of you, but there is only one condition. Once I give this moksha to you, you're going to stay here in this ashram forever with me. So I request him to get me a list of all persons interested in this deal. So I did not know that Swamiji could be so, how you say? I forgot the expression. Kind of playful, you know. So once you have moksha, everybody's going to stay here. Everyone gave an excuse, another, but nobody came to receive moksha in that period of time that I have determined. Some people would say, I have to do some things home, and then I come here, and then you give me moksha. No? And then some just say, no, it's now or never. You know, the deal is now, not within 3 months, blah, 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 1 month. And then he says, nobody is really interested because nobody is mature enough. That's a fact. It's a fact. I'm the same with regard to every being. I'm not going to give extra blessing to anyone because the blessing is a byproduct of one's efforts, of one's maturity, preparedness. Shankara says in his Soundaraya Lahari, the moonlight falls everywhere equally. This is a beautiful analogy. The moonlight falls everywhere equally, whether it's a dirt spot or a beautiful place with flowers. Therefore, Krishna says, my grace is equal for all. In fact, I cannot give more sun, more light, more moonlight, more sunlight, more space. I cannot give more to anything. The system is what it is, equanimous. And I cannot, say, no, I'm going to withdraw my light because you are doing some nasty things. No. Same way, grace of the Lord is available, all pervasive to all, just like the light revealing everything. Where is the difference? How much are we willing to tap into the grace of the Lord? It's all depends on our efforts. The efforts are going to produce this grace. It's a sure deal. The grace is going to be tapped on by my efforts. Grace is already there. The grace is already included in the effort. So the effort is already produced grace. When you are building a house, you are building the walls, and within the walls, there is space. Space is available before, during, and after you build your house. Primarily, you're interested in what? In the walls. And then you're going to be interested in the inside space, primarily interested in the living room. So, but you do not need to work to produce this space. The space is all the time there available. Therefore, space and light they are the most beautiful, most profound analogies to explain the self, to explain the Lord, the grace, reality. So you have to work only for what? For construct a wall, yeah? Construct the house. So here the construction of the house could be, in analogy, relate to building up our preparedness, our purification, refinement of mind. Developing our qualifications is building the house. We don't need to build the house in that sense, saying like, so I don't have the grace of the Lord unless I develop my qualification. No, the qualifications, the grace is there, but it's going to fructify to the degree that I develop the qualifications to gain this final understanding of the oneness between myself, the body mind, and my true nature as Satchitananda Brahman. You don't need to build Satchitananda Brahman, it's always there, but you need to tap into it. Tapping means understanding it. Enclosed space is all available. The grace of the Lord, which is equal to conscious existence, our very nature, is always there, but I need to work to what? To build my qualification, to build the house. Ishvara is never separated, as if invite you to put forth your effort. Again, so Ishvara is a system, but it's always there. And Krishna can say, I am inviting you to put forth your efforts, because then grace will shine naturally, spontaneously. Therefore, Krishna says, my grace is uniformly available to all. Mama devasa nasti. There is no one, therefore, who is hateful to me or who is hateful to me, whom I hate. And there is no one who is my favorite as well. No one more dear, no one less dear. Everyone is living within this appearance order, and the fabric of it is grace, is conscious existence. If everyone is the same, how come some people only get liberation, some other do not get? Krishna says the difference is not caused by me, but the level of your effort, the level of your maturity, the level of your preparedness. So you need to become an Niskama Bhakta to begin with. That's why in our tradition we say moksha is determined by your will, your efforts, your, your viveka, and not God's grace. God's grace does not really exist apart from the fruits of our own efforts. But the play here is that the more effort we put, the more we produce punya karma, favorable circumstance, more favorable circumstance for this spiritual, fruition. So we are doing things, and then grace is following because it's fructifying. It's fructifying. From where? Because I'm making my efforts here. I'm really dedicating my life to that. So the grace does not comes by any chance. This is a very profound and beautiful concept, the concept of grace. Grace is just karma, you know. We have to sow and then we reap. And if we want the ultimate gain in life, which is self-knowledge and freedom, we should not be going around doing things that are going to produce only more and more samsara. We cannot go around doing things that will only produce more and more samsara, expecting that I could gain self-knowledge and freedom. No. You have to put off for certain actions, and the certain actions requires great development to begin with so that it fructifies as self-knowledge, which is a profound understanding of one's simple nature as consciousness. So you have a free will, you have a desire. Desire is moving you towards things of samsara, gross materialist samsara or subtle samsara. What is the differentiating factor? The level, what kind of desire you have. So you have a desire for the Lord, to Brahman. Is this your real goal or not? So 99.99999 people around in these so-called spiritual circles, they are not interested in this kind of knowledge. Only those high developed vivekis, those sadhana katustaya sampana adhikari, highly developed qualified sadhakas, upanishadikas, or nididhyasakas, né, will seek this goal. In the seventh chapter, the Lord said, God can be used as a means for worldly goals, it can be used as an end in itself. So, okay. In the seventh chapter, it said God can be used as a means for worldly goals, or God can be used as an end by itself, as we know. This in the more in the we see in the context of seeing God as apart from myself. I want to relate to God to get some things of this world, or I want to relate to God as an end into itself. The final God as an end is the Aham Brahmasmi, final destination, which is the real true nature of Saguna. Brahman is Nirguna Atma. So, and then you begin to have a relationship with God as an end, and as an end is ultimately through the Upanishad teachings that makes you understand that is the end of the journey to understand God as one's true intrinsic nature. The one for whom the God is the end is called Niskama Bhakta, Mumukshu Bhakta. He is referred here, those who worship me in this non-dual manner. They are already existing in me. I am existing in them. Both are one. There is only this conscious existence of one without a second nature is the most non-dual relationship we can imagine as a concept. So I am their nature. They are in my nature. There is no separation because there is only this Satchitananda Brahman. So these jivas, some of them, very rare ones, discover this fact. And when they discover, they find it enough, they relax because they no longer believe to be a mere simple ocean, bound to be crushed when reaching the beach, so the coast lines. Moksha is something I attain through our exercise of Viveka Shakti. Without a good discrimination power, faculty, refined, moksha is not possible. Right, Lynn?
So right. So right. And I've been thinking about this beautiful analogy of the walls in the house and the space within. And what came to my mind is that perhaps the walls for the jiva could be the intellect and the space be the self. And it's like the jiva is a hoarder. And there's all these erroneous notions that we've gathered and we stick into this room and all these errors that come from ignorance. And the space is already there. All we have to do is get a dumpster and put all that stuff that's in the room in that dumpster, and the space is there.
Beautiful, very, very nice. Yeah. We are the space of the space.
Right.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing. Beautiful. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. We meet again tomorrow, no, Aline?
Yes. Guru Purnima blessings to you.
Thank you again. Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye bye.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.